Hi everyone, I'm Joe Brady and I've got something very cool to share with you today. We're going to take a closer look at X-Rite's new ColorTRUE app for iOS and Android devices. Now, this app lets you calibrate your device so that you can actually view your images with the best possible color and tone. And by the way, I don't think I mentioned this. Did I mention it's free? So why would you not want it? Now, since so much photography is being viewed on mobile devices like my iPad here, a question I get asked all the time is, well, can I calibrate this? And if not, how accurate is the display of my iPad or Kindle or any other iOS or Android device? I've always suspected that the color on my iPad was a little too saturated and it was definitely too contrasty, even though in general the colors seemed to look pretty good. However, as a photographer, we want to control the color accuracy of our images when they're viewed, no matter what device we choose to show those images on. Now, when I compared my iPad to my calibrated desktop monitor, it did become obvious that the images I looked at on my iPad were a bit punchy. The problem is when you're showing your work to others, they're viewing that image and they're judging it based on that, and these devices don't absolutely accurately display the actual color and tonal range that's truly in the image file. So X-Rite has recently introduced ColorTRUE. It's a color management app that really what it delivers is tablet to desktop screen matching. We've talked about screen to print matching. Now we've got tablet to screen matching. And that means that you can show your photos knowing that they're color accurate. Now with accurate color and tone, your image files also better show shadow detail and the correctly displayed saturation. The end result is prints that are also much more accurately matched to the image that was viewed on the mobile device. And yes, did I mention it's free? Yeah, it's free. The process is very simple. Now, while the app is free, you do need to add a supported X-Rite measurement device. You thought there was a catch. But if you're serious about color, you're probably doing something to color manage your workflow. Now, I've got a couple here. I've got the ColorMonkey Display, the i1 Display Pro, the ColorMonkey Smile, and then over here, the big gun, the i1 Pro 2. Now, these will work with the app, with any of the supported OSs. So if you're wondering, oh, I have version 7 of Windows or even XP, if you go onto X-Rite Photo's site, just look up the device you have. Let's say you have a ColorMonkey Display. You can go into the specifications and it will show you all the OSs that are supported. It really is very simple. Once you've got that hooked up to your computer and it's on the same wireless network as your mobile device, you then launch the app and the device will find, the app will find the device. You then place the device on the face of your iPad or iPhone and watch the app perform its magic. Now that's for iOS stuff. Now, if you're an Android person, you plug your ColorMonkey Display or the i1 Display Pro, just those two, directly into the Android mobile device. You have to use a USB to micro USB adapter and then launch the app. Then what ColorTRUE does is it measures the color of your device and it creates a custom profile. Now, this profile is automatically applied to any images that you view through the ColorTRUE image gallery. Now, these are seamlessly linked to your existing photo albums, so you don't have to do any importing or moving things around. And that means all of your images are now accurately displayed. So to make it clearer, let's actually take a look at the process in action, and then I'll come back and answer some questions. All right, so let's calibrate our iPad using ColorTRUE. So I'm just going to tap on ColorTRUE. And it's going to start up and it's going to look to see if it sees a device connected to a computer that is available in the area, and it can just be connected Wi-Fi. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in my ColorMonkey Display, and it sees my MacBook Pro show up, and it sees there's a ColorMonkey Display connected to it. So I'm on Create. You can see down in the bottom I've got Create Profile, Image Gallery, and then Help. So let's go ahead and click on the right arrow there, and it's going to go ahead and connect to the device. Now, to prepare the ColorMonkey Display to actually read off of the iPad, we need to just follow the instructions on the screen, flip over the diffuser, and then put it right on top of the screen, and then the device will find that it's there and do the profile for us. Right on the iPad, it's going to check to find it, and once the device has been found, it's going to go through its color process, and it's going to send a whole bunch of colors up to the screen, and it's going to measure them, and from that it's going to create a custom color profile for the iPad.
So it sees a device. Now it's going to go ahead and measure all of these different samples of red, green, and blue, and then a whole bunch of grayscale stuff to create a profile. And you see it says it's going to take about 3 minutes to do this entire process. So we'll go ahead and just speed up the process in the video just so you don't have to sit here and watch this for 3 minutes, and let's see how it finishes when it's completed. So the last step is just going to go ahead and measure the screen brightness and compare that to the ambient light so that you've got the best brightness on that screen so that you get the best viewing conditions. So we see the iPad's now calibrated.
Okay, so a couple of you have asked if you've already tried this and you maybe had some trouble with finding the device. You do have to make sure that your wireless network matches on both the device and on your computer. If you need some help with that, I would recommend checking X-Rite Photo. Go under the ColorTRUE section, or better yet, go to the device that you're using. Again, if it's a Color Monkey display, go there, and you'll see color references to that. So let's continue on. That ColorTRUE has some cool features, including, one, it's got a before and after. What that allows you to do is toggle between the calibrated and the uncalibrated images so you can see the difference. I have found on some of my images the difference is minor, on other it's quite great. Particularly with contrast, I've noticed that the shadow detail comes up much better. Also, ambient light compensation. What it allows you to do is to view your images accurately regardless of the lighting you're under. So if you're in bright sunlight, you can set it for that. If you're in a dim office, you can set it for that, and it will adjust for that. It's got Icc profiling. Now, if you're bringing in an image, say from iPhoto or from a normal photo album, chances are it's going to correctly bring the Icc profile that's embedded in the image with it. If by chance it loses it, you can then reassign a color working space, be it sRGB, Adobe RGB, or ProPhoto RGB to that image. There's also white point selection. Now, this is for optimal tablet to desktop match. You get to choose between D65, D50, and native. However, we're photographers, and as a photographer, I'd recommend choose D65 and stay there. Forget the other ones. Lastly, one of my favorite things, print simulation, or more commonly known as soft proofing. You get to preview your images with your printer profile and rendering intent, so there's no surprises. This allows you to see how your image will print through a custom paper profile. Now, if you're using an iOS device like an iPad or an iPhone, it's also possible to load in additional printer profiles into ColorTRUE. I've loaded some of my favorite paper profiles, including some custom profiles I created, so that I can soft proof my images right on the iPad. Now, with the tablet calibrated, it now closely matches any of your calibrated monitors. So let's go a little deeper and see some of the other capabilities in action.
The images are viewed through the ColorTRUE app. If we click on the image to go to the image gallery, however, what it does is it shows you all of your galleries that are in your normal photos. You don't have to go ahead and re-import anything. I've just got my images in my normal photo gallery on my iPad here. So if I bring up an image, let's just go ahead and bring up something. Well, let's get something with more dramatic color, and you get to see on the bottom there's a calibrated and uncalibrated button. If I click on uncalibrated, you can see what happens is we get the normal view that the iPad would normally give us. Now in this case it is pleasing, however it's a little overly saturated and we've lost some of the shadow detail. It's gone a little bit too contrasty. If we really wanted to show an accurate depiction of the actual data in this file, click on calibrated and you can see that the image lightens up a little bit, and particularly in the shadows. We've got a little more detail back in the shadows, and that is a better, truer depiction of the actual data in that file. So again, uncalibrated, maybe a particular little red, a little overly saturated, calibrated, more accurate depiction of the image. Now in the upper right-hand corner of the iPad and the ColorTRUE app, you see you have white points here. In most cases, you're going to use D65. I wouldn't mess with the other ones unless you have a specific reason to. And if you don't know if you have a specific reason to, then you don't. Leave it on D65. And then also there is ambient compensation. You can turn this on and off. You can also override it if you want it dimmer or you want it brighter, depending on the viewing conditions. Alright, let's go ahead and add in some custom paper profiles that we've created using ColorMonkey system to our ColorTRUE. So I'm going to click on Add. I took the profiles that I wanted out of my system and put them in a folder so they'd be easy to find. And here are a handful of papers: fine art textured, gold fiber silk, gold cotton textured, and smooth pearl. So I'm going to add those four. And then all I need to do is click Sync. And what this will do is it'll go ahead and add those files into the iPad, and then we go back into the ColorTRUE app. We can then soft proof using these custom profiles. Now after the sync, you disconnect the device from the computer, and we're going to be ready to use the new profiles in the ColorTRUE image directory. Now to do this, we have to quit or force quit and relaunch the ColorTRUE app. And to get that, what we need to do is we're going to double click on the home button, and we're going to scroll over until we see ColorTRUE. Swipe up to get rid of it. This will force quit it. And now we can go ahead and restart it.
Okay, a couple good questions came through while that was playing, so let's take a look at these real quick. First of all, a couple of you were asking about, you've got different devices. You've got UE Pros, photo spectros, etc. The answer is, unfortunately, no. If you want to use it with the ColorTRUE app, it's got to be one of these four devices on an iPad: an i1 Pro 2, a ColorMonkey display, an i1 Display Pro, or a ColorMonkey Smile. That's it. If you have an older device, the answer is, unfortunately, no. If you're an Android user, then it is just these two: the ColorMonkey Display and the i1 Display Pro. The other devices will not work with that. Someone asked, should I override the auto brightness adjustment, or will that suffice? You do not need to override that. You can just leave that alone. When you do the calibration, the device is going to be flush to the screen, so it's not concerned about ambient light. It will adjust everything based on what it's seeing. You can then, in the ColorTRUE app, you can go in and decide, well, I want to see it a little dimmer. Because if you work into a dark room, sometimes the brightness adjustment, the auto brightness adjustment, will still leave the iPad a little bit too bright. So you might find clicking on the office setting or a dimmer setting just to be helpful. But it's up to you. It's really not that important part of it. Someone asked, is there a way, how do you connect the ColorMonkey Display or i1 Display Pro to the iPad? You don't, and you can't. Apple has made no capability to do that. That's why we need to use a laptop with these devices connected, and then through the Wi-Fi, the ColorTRUE app talks to the laptop and is able to control the device. But there's no way to directly connect the device to the iPad itself. So again, someone asked, does it work with NEC's MVD sensor or MDSV sensor? And the answer is no. It's got to be one of these devices for it to work. Now, someone asked a very interesting question. You actually kind of set me up for this. Will ColorTRUE work with images being synced live with the computer display via apps like Air Display? Stay tuned. I'll be right there with that in just a second. But let's summarize what we've seen so far. So we've got our tablet calibrated. The images in the photo galleries can now be viewed through the ColorTRUE app. We can adjust the white point and the brightness of our display, and we get to see a soft proof preview of our photos if we want. Now, when I was thinking about how I could best take advantage of these capabilities in my studio, I thought of how cool would it be to shoot wirelessly to my iPad and have color calibrated images immediately available for my client to view. As it turns out, you can actually do this. Take a look. Before we close up today, there's something really cool that I wanted to share with you that I found that went really well combined with the whole ColorTRUE app particularly for me, for my iPad. And that's an iFi card. Now this is basically an SD card, and it can come in compact flash as well, that has Wi-Fi capabilities built into it. If you just stop and think about it, it's amazing. Here's the card. This has a Wi-Fi transmitter in it. And through the software, it allows me to decide what I want to transfer from my camera to the iPad or up to a hotspot. Now, it's capable of transferring video and raw files, but it takes a while. So where I found it to be really useful is to set my camera to shoot both RAW and JPEG and just send the JPEGs over to the iPad, because that happens in just a couple of seconds. And if you have someone else on set, either a client or a parent that you're shooting their subject, they get to see calibrated images showing up on the iPad almost instantaneously. And it's really easy to set up. I'll just tap the i5 button here and go to the settings. And I want to go to the card settings. And here's where I'm going to tell it as far as what media. You can see I have it set for photos, which just means JPEGs. I have videos and RAW files turned off because I don't want them actually sent from the camera into here. Again, as I said, it will do it. It'll just take a while. I timed a RAW file and it took almost 30 seconds. That wouldn't work. But the small JPEGs happened in just a couple of seconds. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, the cool thing about this is the way the iFi system works, when you then shoot into it, it shows up as an album in your photos, in your iPhoto, for example. That then automatically shows up in the ColorTRUE app, so it's very cool. So first I'll go over into Photos, and it creates an album automatically for it. And for example, what am I going to shoot? Let's see, what happens if I shoot back here at Rick? Rick, you ready for this? Let's see. All right, it's not going to be a great photograph, but what ends up happening is it'll end up coming into my iFi album. So let me get that up here. Okay, and there it is. Okay, so I can continue shooting. Let me just go back to my iFi album. These are just a bunch of images that I was goofing around with earlier. Let's see if I can open it up a little bit more so we can actually see Rick. I'm just shooting, obviously kind of goofing around here. There we go. That's a keeper. And the image will immediately transfer over. It'll show up in the iFi folder in ColorTRUE, and then I can click on it and see it full screen. And there it just showed up. And I can see the calibrated and the uncalibrated version. In this case, there's not a lot of color in this image. It's really just kind of a subtle opening up of the shadows, which is one thing we saw from the calibration. iPads are a little bit too contrasty, and the calibration with the ColorTRUE does fix that. So basically, any image we take dumps into the folder. It's already got an album there set up for it, shows up in both the iFi and in the ColorTRUE immediately. So you can shoot wirelessly. I'm not even tethered. I'm still recording RAW to the card. It's just not sending the RAW files over, and I told it through the app. So if you're interested in it, take a look on their website. It's iFi, EYE.fi. I don't have any official involvement with them, but once I started playing with it, and the combination of this and the ColorTRUE app, I thought was really cool because you can send this immediately into your iPad and see your calibrated shots. Cool? Get one. So how cool is that? Wireless transfer to the iPad with calibrated viewing. Now, a couple more questions before we finish up. Someone said, I mentioned earlier, you connected to the laptop. Can you also connect via Wi-Fi to a desktop? Absolutely, really just a computer that's on Wi-Fi, it doesn't matter. Someone asked, will it work with an iPhone 5S? The answer again is yes. If you go on to xritephoto.com, either look up the ColorTRUE app or the individual device you might own, and if you scroll down in specs, it will show you a list of all the devices that are supported. Another question, someone asked, will this work with ColorMonkey Photo? And the answer to that is right now, the answer is no, unfortunately. And they ask, are there plans to do so? I don't know, that's a stay tuned, but right now, no, it does not work with the ColorMonkey Photo. Someone else, will it work with Cam Ranger? Cam Ranger is an external box that wirelessly transfers in, and the answer to that is yes, it does work with Cam Ranger. In fact, really, with any kind of way you're using to wirelessly transfer into a folder on your device, onto the iPad, then you should be able to use it with ColorTRUE as long as you point ColorTRUE to that folder. And I settled on the Icc card because it was a very inexpensive solution. This is a 6 gig Wi-Fi card, and I don't want to say it was 50 or 60 bucks. But really, for what it does, it's amazing. And also, it works with pretty much every camera I've come across. You don't have to be a high-end DSLR. I also used it in my Sony NEX7. Works just fine. And the more I stare at this thing, I'm just amazed that this is a Wi-Fi transmitter, and it works really well. Now, keep in mind, this is really new stuff. So keep an eye out for other apps that will recognize ColorTRUE, that'll be aware of it. Because unlike desktop or laptop operating systems, iOS and Android operating systems do not have system-wide color management capabilities. This means when you create a profile in ColorTRUE, your other apps don't necessarily see it. They're not automatically going to see it. X-Rite is working to solve this. They're working with app developers to access your ColorTRUE profile. So help spread the word. Tell your favorite app developers that you'd like their app to be able to access the ColorTRUE Aware profile. However, for now, images that end up in your photo gallery will be automatically available in the ColorTRUE app gallery. And I've started using this as my default way to show my image portfolio. I've been using it for a couple weeks, and I love it. I love how it opens up the shadows, and I'm getting a better representation of my images on the screen. Let's see, so a couple other questions before we finish. Someone has a Canon 6D with Wi-Fi built in that they use with their Samsung Galaxy S3. All right, I'm not a Canon person or a Samsung person, but again, as long as the images are making it into your photo gallery, then there's nothing stopping the ColorTRUE app from getting those images if it already sees other images from there. Let's see, and someone, yes, said, if I have a Cam Ranger, do I need an Wi-Fi card? No. It's just another way of wirelessly transferring images into the device. That's really all you're after. You want to get the images wirelessly from your camera into the device. It's fun stuff. It's a brand new world. It's as I said, it's a lot of fun. I've started using it. I've had a lot of success with it, and really recommend use it because why? It's free. It's easy to use, and if you're a photographer who wants images to display as accurately as possible, it's what you've been waiting for. So that's it for today. I'm Joe Brady. Thanks for watching. Now go download the app. Go on, get it. It's free.